Thank you to EMC Oulu for being brave enough, or maybe crazy enough, to hand me the keys to the brand new F450 GS trophy from BMW. I'm here to find out if this bike is actually worth all the hype, at least in this quick test ride. Just so we're clear, this is not a full review. Those I only do after living with the bike for a proper amount of time. This is pure first impressions. Let's get to it. This is probably one of the more exciting releases from BMW over the last few years, at least for myself, because I'm a fan of these small little adventure bikes. My channel actually started when I owned the 650 Sertao way back in the day, which BMW kind of stopped producing, I think, when 2014. And so it's been more than 10 years since BMW had this small little adventure segment down the back. So let's see how this small little 450 handles the highways, the off-road riding, the city riding, and what I think about it after the fact. This is a little bit confusing to me. This is a 450, but this is actually a 420cc engine in this BMW, but it is still producing 48 horsepower, so it should be in line with the other A2 competitors. And it feels pretty sprightly. Grip warmers are automatically coming on. I'm not sure if that's an automated feature because it's pretty cold. The Quickshifter works pretty nicely. But the wind protection definitely could use some modifications. This fairing is very loud to my helmet. I kind of have to duck down a lot here to get some of that wind away from the microphones so you can hear me better. And the bike is a little buzzy at doing 100 kilometers an hour. 5,500 at 100 kilometers an hour, and that's GPS speed. So it's not revving overly high. I think that's pretty acceptable. Staying under 6,000 RPM is usually a nice speed for these smaller engines and at this kind of speed. And picks up speed pretty nicely, even with the highest gear. So it is a little buzzy. I can feel some vibrations through the handlebars and the foot pegs and the seat. But the buzziness might be a complaint for someone that wants a bike to ride very long distances doing highway speeds. You might get a little uncomfortable with that buzz, but it's not terrible. But you can definitely feel a little bit of a buzz everywhere on the bike. And that might get your fingers tingling a little bit faster than some other competitors. I would say the NX500 is slightly smoother, at least at this kind of speed. With the NX I get vibrations doing over 115, but there is a lot of power, I would say. I think it comes from the fact that this bike is really light. This power is really decent, considering that the bike is only 420cc. It's picking up speed really nicely, even though I have quite a bad headwind. You can pick up this fairing by about an inch or so. You can change the position with just moving the screws on the front. If you're my height, I don't think that's gonna be enough to make this a quiet bike. 1 inch is it's still gonna be pushing your helmet through that wind tunnel. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but it's quite fast. I would say maybe the fastest A2 bike I've ridden. If I can get this bike at some point to Rahe, I can do the testing on the airfield on the acceleration, but this feels fairly fast. So I would say the wind protection right now feels way better than it felt earlier. going to that pretty heavy headwind. I think that this wind protection is redeeming itself a little bit now that we are riding into the downwind. It's very clean, non-turbulent air. Let's overtake with 6th gear. Oh yeah, really happy engine, really fast, I would say. This is as a stock bike, this is faster than an NX500, and I would say this is faster than the MT 450. KTM might give this bike a run for its money. I'm not sure which one would be faster, but I feel like this is faster. I am gonna crown this the fastest A2 bike I have ridden. And it's really nimble, absolutely perfect on the asphalt. So fun to ride, absolutely beautiful. The way this turns into the corner, it's so fast and nimble. Now that I've been sitting on the highway a little bit longer, I would say that I would have no problem traveling this bike longer distances. I pretty much got used to the little vibration I'm getting from the seat already. So the highway test, I would say 7 out of 10 maybe. For this kind of class of a bike, you can't really expect it to be a big GS or something like that. You are gonna have some compromises with the vibrations, with the wind protection, and with the feel of the bike, but it feels really nimble and fun to ride. And I'm 175 or so tall, and the bike feels really roomy. I have a lot of space here. The standing position feels really fantastic. So I don't feel like I'm riding a small bike by any means. Whoa, what comes to this being a city bike, this is fantastic. This is really nimble and fun. Feels way lighter than it actually even is. This is 170 something kilos. I think it's 177 or 78 or something like that. And it feels way lighter than that. I think the balance point on this bike is pretty low down. Of course, the tank is not completely full of petrol, so maybe that is affecting it a little bit. But this trophy version already has crash bars installed, plastic hand protection, and it has luggage panniers in the back, and the bike still feels really nimble. Fantastic to ride. And the Quickshifter works fantastically well. A little bit of a twitch going up, but really well behaved Quickshifter. And having a Quickshifter in this kind of a mid-size or small size A2 bike is really good. From BMW, this bike comes with aluminium rims, but I've been told by Euromotor Center Oulu that you can buy spoked rims for this bike from them directly, but you need to buy them separately. They won't sell you the bike without the aluminium rims, which is kind of a sad thing. I think BMW should sell this bike with the spoked rims that come with the GS. But what's good also that you have options. Rally Raid, I've been told, is coming up with the 21-inch wheel conversion kit for this bike. So definitely wait for that and use my code if you buy anything from Rally Raid. I like that BMW put the full-size dashboard on this small bike, and it has the similar or same controls from the bigger GS brothers. So you have the control wheel, you have all the buttons that you are familiar with the bigger bikes. And the dash looks very similar to the bigger bikes. It looks really nice, really clean, really easy to read even in direct sunlight. I have no complaints about the dashboard. And the controls are really easy to use. They feel really high quality. Even though this bike apparently is made in India, I don't see much that would indicate that on the bike itself. Like the production in India is, it doesn't mean that the bike is lower quality. I think it's pretty exciting to get a BMW under 10,000. I'm not sure what kind of bikes you have been able to buy from BMW with those kind of prices, but I think that there's not that many, if any, over the last few years. And this bike has the easy cut clutch as well. So you can basically come to a standstill with this bike and it's not gonna stall on you. It's gonna handle everything for you. Yeah, I can already see it in action. And I took this slow roundabout and at third gear, it is giving me that E-clutch automatically without me touching anything. Let's go to a bit of a calmer section of a road into the forest to have a more thorough testing of this clutch system. Wow, I'm amazed on how nimble this bike feels. I barely have to think about it and it's going. Fantastic feeling to ride this kind of... It is the tire size, of course. It makes a huge difference because this has the 19 front, 17 back, I think. And yeah, you can definitely feel that. It's the same way with my NX500 project. It feels super nimble going into the corners. And on twisty roads, it's fantastic fun to ride. And this feels even more nimble, and that's definitely because of the weight. My NX is almost 30 kilos heavier than this. So there is a huge difference in that. Let's actually come to a standstill with the third gear. Let's see what happens with the E-clutch. Yeah, you can see we are still in third, and I didn't even touch the clutch and came to a standstill using the brake alone. And the bike is completely fine. Let's see what happens with this small 420cc engine if I try to get a move on without using the clutch in third gear. Select first gear to drive off. It's complaining, but it's completely fine. I didn't feel any stuttering, anything. This is really beginner friendly. You have the clutch if you wanna pop the front end a little bit loose on the going over obstacles or anything like that, but you can still ride it like an auto basically. That, well, it's not gonna change gears for you, but the clutch is gonna do everything for you to not stall the bike. Even with this small engine, it's completely fine. So let's see how this feels in Enduro Pro mode, doing some gravel, some forest sections here. Yeah, Enduro Pro definitely gives me some wheel spin, which is good. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is actually, I would say, the fastest A2 bike I have ridden. Easily. I feel like it's really sprightly. So this is first section is pretty fast paced gravel road. How does it feel here? I think it could use some more knobby tires. I think I'm a little bit bouncing around here at this speed, but it feels fairly stable. And the suspension doesn't feel like it's wallowing about. It's pretty firm and feels pretty nice. Yeah, actually this kind of fast-paced gravel road feels pretty good with this bike. And even at 6th gear, you can still accelerate pretty nicely. It's not gonna spin the back wheel at this speed on the top gear, but you can see it's accelerating pretty well. So yeah, this is a really nippy A2 bike. The standing position itself feels really nice. Really actually easy to stand here. And even in kind of this attack position, I don't feel like the handlebar is overly tall. Like in some GSs, it can easily feel like it's a little bit too tall, but this, I think this is perfect. Feels really nice. And the suspension so far feels really good. I don't think you can do anything overly aggressive, like do 100 kilometers an hour on this kind of bumpy section. But oh yeah, it brings the front wheel up a little bit and feels fairly nice. What comes to the suspension, it feels a little surface rough, so it's not plush like the bigger GS's, but it's not bad either. You can feel some of the hits are a little bit rougher on the handlebars and my hands, but ooh, like there, but it didn't bottom out. Woo. I think the standing position for anyone up until 190 centimeters is gonna be fine. Maybe the foot pegs are a little bit close to the rider triangle if you're very tall, but for myself this feels really nice. I can stand on top of the bike. I feel like I'm in control all the time when I'm standing here. So fantastic riding position. I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad thing that you don't have to worry about the clutch, because if you learn to ride with this bike, you might never learn clutch control. Jeez, this is way faster than I expected. Wow, feels great. Feels absolutely great. Last year my favorite A2 bike was the KTM 390 Adventure R, and it is it's hard to tell if it's still on the top position after riding this BMW. I think this is faster, and if you're really concerned about the wheel sizes, then maybe go with the KTM, but this kind of normalish forest riding that I'm doing here, this bike feels fantastic. The suspension is a little bit harder hitting than some of the bigger, more mellow bikes with taller suspensions. This only has 18 centimeters of suspension travel back and front, so you can definitely notice that it's not giving me such a plus ride, but it's not too bad. It's not like, it doesn't feel terrible by any means. So I actually went back to the store and asked the owner and some of the riders there present, how do you turn off the TC completely in this? So basically you have to be in the Enduro Pro mode, and then you have to keep pressing down on this button here on the dashboard next to your control wheels on these. This is the button. When you press it long, that turns on. It doesn't say anything on the dash, but now the TC should be completely off. I think the Enduro Pro mode works very well in this kind of forest road. If the surface is not too sandy, the mode seems to be working really well. It's giving some slip to the back wheel, but it's still getting a lot of power down to the ground. The only issue is when you go to the deep sand, that's when you have to take off the TC completely. It's not as plush as the big GS, but for a small bike, I think this feels perfectly adequate. The Quickshifter here in the forest, it's actually really fun to use without the clutch, and it works really well even if you don't have it fully pinned. If you have the throttle a little bit open, it switches so nicely up and down. Woo! Okay, the suspension is a little bit struggling here. Woo-hoo-hoo. But yeah, handled it pretty well. Lost a little bit of composure in a couple of those hits, the bigger hits, but nothing crazy. If you like having fun with these kind of sand pits and going absolutely insane with enduro tracks, of course this is not gonna be the bike for you. But if you just like the occasional gravel road and the adventurous forest roads that we have millions of them here in Finland, you can have a lot of fun with this small little GS. Definitely. Here, when you ride very slow speeds, like doing 40 behind this car, here you can notice the front wheel being 19 and the suspension not being overly tall. It feels a little bouncy. You can notice that the bike shakes all over the place when you hit those little, like, sharp potholes. I have kind of the same problem with the NX500. You can feel those potholes way more than you can with some full-bore adventure bike with 21/18 wheel sizes and at least 200 millimeters of travel. Those bikes usually feel out of the box a little bit more mellow in those kind of harder hits. So is this BMW an adventure bike? Yeah, I think so. Is it the same as the 650 Sertao way back in the day that I used to ride all over Europe as well? No, it's not. This is way more sophisticated and smooth, even on highway. That Sertao it's a big thumper. It's bouncy, it's shaky, it's all of that. This feels a little bit more refined as an overall package, but doing off-roading, I would pick that Sertao any day of the week. But if BMW could bring an enduro version of this bike with taller suspension, let's say 200 mil suspension, and 21/18, it's a good combination. Put those wheels on this bike and this would be a completely different animal. I would say that the MT450 used to be my recommendation a couple of years ago, but now I would recommend this the KTM 390 Adventure R and this BMW. Those are the two top competitors in my opinion in this class of A2 adventure bikes. But take it out on a test ride, and if you are a hardcore off-road rider, then look at something else like this Suzuki DRZ, the new one, maybe is better suited for you. This is a more road biased adventure bike.